If you've been following our videos, you might remember the test of the old Arteon and a young kitten which so kindly modeled in front of it. Both have the R-Line package with black accents, and both have changed. This updated test model has the R-Line package as well, which, amongst other things, gives it a more aggressive, sporty look. It also has a bigger LED signature, which continues from the lights almost to the center of the front grille. Updated is the selection of alloys. In this case, the car sits on 20-inch rims, which are the biggest on offer. I really like the pre-facelift model, but this one looks even better. And I think the shooting brake shape works great. Those of you who hate imitation exhausts will be disappointed though. Oh yes, the test model has these awesome looking rear LEDs and a fair bit of space in the trunk. The seats can be wrapped in textile or leather. Alright, let's look at the negatives of this car first, and then we'll look at the positives. To leave it on a positive note, because it is a pretty good car. So what I don't like or dislike or hate even in this car, the biggest one has to be the software. I like the graphics of the instruments. They look very nice, stylish, sleek. I like the general look of the infotainment screen, even though it's the smaller version. I like the climate controls and such, but the software is just not very intuitive. I'm a technical guy and I do a lot of this stuff, and it's just not very intuitive. For example, I usually like to use my limiter in cars instead of cruise control, so I have more control in a way, and I couldn't for the life of me realize, figure out how to set the limiter, because it always defaults to cruise control. And of course, I had to go and look at the manual. Look at the manual, stupid. And there's a button on the blinker control stalk, which you have to press, and then you get a menu, and then you have to go down twice and press OK, and now you have the limiter, not cruise control. And you better hope that you don't have any other information popping up in the meantime, any messages, because that will cancel out of that menu. So it's just stupid. And also the navigation. I cannot for the life of me figure out intuitively how to put on the map. There is no map button. There's only a nav button, which gives you all the recent destinations you've been at and to search for destinations, but I have to actually select a destination to show the map. How do you just show the map? I'm not going to read the manual. If I can't figure it out on my own, it's not intuitive. The second thing is the climate control. I know, I always rant about the climate controls because I hate the fact that they put everything on the infotainment screen and everything is touch. But after falling flat on their face, Volkswagen has now gotten back on their knees. We're not back on our feet yet, we're on the knees, because they got to sort of a midpoint. This car actually has all the climate controls laid out below the infotainment screen. It looks nice. Unfortunately, they're all capacitive. But at least they're there, and they're not that horrible to use, I'll have to admit. Even though, despite all of this, I would still very much prefer physical controls that I can actually twist and turn. The third thing is kind of a big one as well, but it is up to your preference, I suppose. You would have to try the car yourself. Well, everything is up to your preference, really. This is just my subjective opinion. But the steering wheel controls. This is the new sort of generation of the steering wheel controls, or the steering wheel as a whole, because it has this sort of weird capacitive touch control system, where it's sort of, you can still sort of press things down, but I don't know how it actually does it. It doesn't actually have switches in there, I don't think. It sort of detects that you're pressing on the panel, and then it sort of gives you a haptic feedback. So you feel like you've pressed a button, but just like I've tested it in the Audi, I don't like it. Yes, it works most of the time. Shut up. It works most of the time, but I just don't like it, because after pressing things for a while, you can also slide, by the way, but a lot of the things you have to press, your thumb is going to start hurting. I'm not kidding, because basically what you're doing is you're pressing on a hard surface. It's not a switch that gives way, that gives in. It's weird to describe. It's difficult to describe, but I don't like it at all. I would very much prefer switches. And the third issue I have is sort of really a minor one, but with this 200 horsepower diesel engine with plenty of torque, this car only has front wheel drive. You can get all wheel drive, the 4Motion, and I would suggest it at this point, unless you really don't much care about driving quickly out of intersections. But whenever you're trying, it's fine most of the time, but if you're in a busy intersection and you're trying to catch a gap or something, you will practically always spin your tires. You have to be quite careful with it, and you just cannot put all of that torque down, whereas with a all-wheel drive system for 4Motion, of course, you can. Let's talk about the positives now, because I've ranted enough about the negatives. So the first one, obviously, as soon as you look at it, this car looks business. It looks great. I love how it looks. It looks modern, sleek, aggressive. It looks very nice. You will be noticed in this car, especially with this R-Line package. The second thing is, it actually drives very nicely. It's very nice to drive. The engine could be a little quieter maybe, but it drives very nicely, and I don't really mind the sporty suspension so much. If you don't like bumps and such, you would want to stay away from that and just go for full comfort. There is a comfort mode here, which I have it in most of the time anyway, but you can feel if the roads are a little bit wonky here and there. But otherwise, it's very nice. My colleague does complain about these sporty seats. He advises against them. He has problems with his lower back, and he says after about 50 kilometers, he could feel it. So he said, if you have problems with your back and you like a more comfortable ride, stay away from the sporty seats. But yeah, personally, I find it really quite nice. The next excellent thing is this shooting brake model has a fair bit of space in the trunk, but it also has a lot of space for the rear passengers. I kid you not, there is a lot of space. With my position, if I sit in the back, I have about, I don't know, this much of leg room for my knees. It is huge. So anyone back there will be comfortable, even though the seats aren't quite as comfortable as some people would like in the back as well. That's info from my passengers. But yeah, there is a lot of space everywhere. Next, and I know I'm babbling on and on, but I do like the instrument cluster. I know it's the smaller version that Volkswagen now puts in their models. That bigger one that they put in the 240 horsepower Passat. You cannot get that anymore unless you buy an Audi, I believe. But it looks nice. I actually don't mind it. It looks great. The graphics are very nice. You've got a lot of information about, on there that you can set. It is really nice. Also, the general feel inside of the car with the ambient lighting that you can set, whatever color you want. The heated seats, they're heated beautifully, very quickly to heat up, because with some brands it just takes forever to heat up. I also have a heated steering wheel, so it's actually really, really nice. And before I make this into a 3-hour video, let's go to the last positive. Well, not the last, but one of the ones I will talk about last. Does that make any? No, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, it's the engine. This 2-liter, 200 horsepower engine with plenty of torque, which was previously in the 190 horsepower iteration, which has now been replaced by this one. It's great. It's just like before. It is the perfect balance between power and economy, because compared to the 240 horsepower engine which my colleague has, which is not sold anymore, you cannot really compare them with power and acceleration. He also has 4Motion, and he says there's not a lot of comparison. That goes like stink, this doesn't, but this still has good power. But the nicest thing is that you have all this power available, but you can still cruise very nicely and slowly, and you get excellent fuel economy. Right now my average fuel consumption is 5.4 liters per 100 kilometers, and that is driving like this and driving on highways. So I had it as low as 4.8 or something, and as high as almost 7, which was mostly just highways. But yeah, this is quite a frugal engine, and it doesn't skimp on power. So this is really, really, really good. If you're looking for a little bit more oomph, but you're not willing to pay extra for all that fuel, get this one, because it's a huge change over the 150 horsepower, but it's just very frugal. It just sips the fuel. In the end, yes, this car has negatives. I would change a fair few things, especially all the capacitive BS, but I really, really like it. I don't just really like it because it's finally a normal car, not an SUV or something. It looks great, it drives nicely, it has enough power, it's lovely. I would be very happy to have this car myself and to buy it. So yeah, very, very nice.
Arteon shooting brake starts at 37,000 euros. For the all-wheel drive model with the most powerful diesel engine and practically all the extras, you'll be paying 67,000 euros. If you're interested in the sporty R model with 320 gas horses and all extras, prepare a hefty 76,000 euros.